Hello, everybody. Thank you for downloading the Thanksgiving scrimmage of Hit the Deck. And we are thankful for you, our listener. We are thankful for a great many things, and we are thankful for the opportunity to talk to you every single week. And I am thankful for James and for the fact that he is always going to keep this podcast on track. So, James, I would be eternally thankful if you would take over and jump us into it.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gary Mack, sir. I hope that you heard the last edition of Hit the Deck, where we were able to bestow our love and appreciation to the American Rhino for this very podcast and other things, of which just a great guy that he is and an upstanding citizen and wonderful example of what you should be in life.
I'm still annoyed about that, by the way.
I apologize for Pearl Harboring you and being a sneak, but in all honesty, if you would have known about it, you would have shut it down. As a matter of fact, I was scheduled to do that for your birthday, and you just said, no, I'm not doing that. So that's why I had to be a little bit crafty and sneaky, so I apologize. But
yeah, fine. We already made last week about me. You don't have to make this about me, too. Please just move on.
Oh, will do. Yeah, speaking of keeping things moving. Anyway, this little scrimmage of Thanksgiving, we just wanted to, again, bestow our gratitude to the listener out there as well. And hopefully that you've enjoyed the podcast so far. And thank you for coming week to week to supporting the podcast and for participating in it as well. We appreciate it, especially to all of our guests that have come on. So just the thing about Thanksgiving, it's the one time of year that actually forces even the most pessimistic folks of this fine nation of ours to be grateful for all of God's countless blessings, like deck hockey and this podcast. Now, granted, some of us have much harder lives than others, but hopefully we all have family and friends we can rely on. And that's something that should never be forgotten.
Yeah, and Thanksgiving is an American holiday. So, being thankful is patriotic.
Exactly right. And being a Rhino, I'm not going to force the issue or question you for that as well. So.
All right, thanks.
But yeah, kick things off, quite frankly, personally for me, one of the things I'm most thankful for is the American Rhino, Mr. Gary Mack. Thank you for inviting me to play in the LIQ in the first place, and for this very podcast as well, because as we've said in the past, I grew up playing roller hockey through grade school, high school, and a little into college. But then after that, my friends either moved away or did other things or whatever the case was. And my hockey equipment just went by the wayside, and so did my shape, as I just really just didn't do much in terms of exercise and whatnot.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah, so fast forward a decade or so, and thanks to Gary and the LIQ and guys like Rob and Pops and Mike, to be specific, invited me to play in the LIQ and rekindle a love that I didn't realize I had and missed very much. So I'm very grateful for you and for the LIQ for the opportunity of playing again and even doing this podcast, which is kind of the best of both worlds. So thank you very much.
Thank you, James. I am thankful for you. You've been a good friend to me always. You're a good friend and you're a great co-host. Actually, no, that sounds disparaging towards your qualities as a friend. You're a great friend and a great co-host. And even though you don't seem to agree with this, I legitimately could not do this podcast without you. And even though I may still have been playing deck hockey, if you had not accompanied me on this this fun adventure, because I spent a lot of money on gear, yes. I wouldn't want to do it without you, because playing with you is a blast. You always have my back, and from a purely selfish standpoint, you transport me frequently to and from games, and I'm thankful for that. But really, this is going to sound inappropriate, but I mean it in a strictly platonic sense. You stoke my passion for the game and for hockey. And I'm really grateful to have you as my friend, as my co-host, and as my buddy.
Much appreciated. And we do feed off of each other, and I think it comes through on this podcast too. And if you ever come out to play deck hockey, I think you'd see that as well. It's always guaranteed too. We usually play pickup games, but everybody always just automatically knows James is on Gary's team, so don't even bother with a pick, So
It does happen sometimes that someone manages to steal you away, but
yeah, just as either not knowing how bad I am or just not knowing how good everybody else is. But speaking of which, and thank you, that's really sweet and I appreciate it, and right back at you. But another thing that Gary and I are both thankful for is the LIQ.
Yes.
Our great friends and teammates, specifically, as we said before, Rob, who pretty much started the whole thing. Pops, his dad, glad that he's back on his feet again after the knee surgery. So we want him back on the rink as soon as possible, too. If he's
I think he's permanently retired at this point. But we are happy to see him whenever he shows up.
That's absolutely for sure. And we appreciate the support, too. He's a listener of the podcast and has bought our T-shirt and has flown our sticker proud. So we really appreciate it, Pops. Thank you so much. For the rest of the LIQ, Mike, Brad, of course, Brett, who's really come a long way as a great player and has an amazing shot and good guy all around. Carlos, of course, Iggy, Dan, Rich, Chris, Joe, John, Ron, Jack, Craig, and the rest of the Crotch Mavens. So we appreciate you all and are very proud to call you guys our teammates and league mates. And it's a pleasure to be a part of that. And thank you guys for making deck hockey as much fun and as cool as it should be.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for you guys, we would not be playing deck hockey because, I mean, James and I, James already said he stayed away from the league, from playing hockey for years, and I was not at all exposed to hockey, at least as something I could play. I mean, I watched ice hockey, I watched the Rangers, but I never even thought about playing as an option until I started playing with this group of guys, and I can't imagine not doing it. It's something I'm really, really passionate about and something I really, really love. So for the gift of deck hockey, maybe I should save that for Christmas, but I am very thankful for all you guys and for the opportunity to play this game, which is so rewarding and so frustrating all at the same time.
Yeah, and special thanks to Mike for naming the LIQ and for Brad for setting up the Facebook page and the website as well to make sure that we get enough guys to participate, or girls, of course. You're more than welcome to participate as well and get games going when we can. So thanks, fellas. We really appreciate it. Obviously, Gary mentioned it before. He and I are very thankful for deck hockey and the ability to participate. Now, this may sound a little weird, but speaking for myself, I'm not athletic at all, but I am grateful for the fact that I can walk and run and have my arms and limbs and can see and hear and all that stuff. So that may be something that people may take for granted. I'm not saying that other people's misfortunes make my life better by any means, but just keep in mind that there are people out there who maybe lost a leg or an arm or something in war, or maybe they were born and need to be in a wheelchair, and just God bless them all, especially for the prosthetics now and for leagues that they can participate and just be normal, quote unquote, normal people and fit in. And it doesn't have to be something that, you're in a wheelchair, you can't play, or I'm not going to hang out with you or anything like that. So I think we've evolved as a society, I hope, where all of these good people, their talents are still utilized and friends could still love them and their families could support them and things like that, and just accept them as people and nothing else. It doesn't matter what skin color you are, what nationality you are, what gender, nothing. We're all people and we're all on this road together. So that's a cool thing. So just the fact that we can run and walk and talk and whatever the case is and participate in deck hockey without even worrying about skating or anything like that is a really great blessing and something I hope people don't take for granted.
Absolutely. And I know I speak for James when I say that we are both incredibly thankful for you, for listening to us and enduring our oftentimes nonsense. And really, we wouldn't do the podcast if not for you, because there would be no reason to. You are the literal reason we do this, and it's a blast. And I only hope that we can continue to entertain you and that we can give you some enjoyment whenever one of these silly little podcasts drops. So for being our listeners and giving us a reason to do this show, we thank you deeply from the bottom of our hearts.
Amen to that. And like Jason and Rob of Mafo said before, that being in the hockey community, we may not be the biggest group of people in the world, but people from Canada come down and play deck hockey in their league and stuff like that. So maybe, again, we're not the most popular, but we are all passionate. There are a lot more of us hockey fans out there than maybe people give us credit for. As, again, Jason and Rob mentioned that they need more rinks out there, and I could vouch for that as well. I'm sure Gary can too.
Sure.
Me being from Brooklyn, Gary from Queens. So thank you for that. And hockey's a beautiful sport in any shape and form, like deck or ice or roller or knock or whatever else, rod hockey. So again, yes, thank you for flying the hockey flag and supporting us and the beautiful sport of deck hockey and hockey in general. Speaking of which, Gary and I are thankful for this very podcast and to Podbean for us being able to have the podcast and let you all listen to it and participate in it as well.
Yes, undoubtedly. Podbean has been our home since the very first episode of this show, the very first scrimmage of this show, and we are grateful for them because it is a great podcasting service. It's pretty cheap, and it has pretty wide-ranging. The tendrils of this podcast just are able to extend throughout the interwebs and I don't know what I'm talking about. But the point is, we're thankful for Podbean because we have lots of exposure, and it's a wonderful service. And this podcast would not be as successful as it is without it. So thank you, Podbean.
Yeah, and again, to Gary's credit, he did a lot of research before we even picked going to Podbean. So I just took his word for it, and it was 100% right. The feeds I found weren't nearly as good and did not come close to giving you the bang for the buck, as it were. And the fact that when Gary does upload our podcast every week, you have the link to our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube as well. So right there, and as Gary always says, at the end of every podcast too, you can subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher, and that's all thanks to Podbean's great service. So thank you to them, and we are grateful to that wonderful company.
Yes, and go ahead, James.
Okay, and if we may, Gary and I, we're very thankful for people in our community, such as our priests, our military, our police forces, the firemen, doctors, nurses, teachers, and all selfless people like you wonderful, beautiful people who help others and keep us all safe and healthy in mind, body, and soul. So thank you so much for your selflessness and for everything that we have. And you're wonderful, and God bless you and your family. So thank you.
Yes, it's because of you that we're able to sit around the table and gorge ourselves on Thanksgiving dinner and sit down and watch hockey and whatever else you do on or football. You heathen.
Yeah, right.
It's because of you that we're able to do that. So thank you sincerely for everything you do.
Amen. Amen. And just the final thing for me, if I may, I'm very thankful for our Catholic faith, for my family, and again, our friends, and especially for Gary and his beautiful family. So God bless you guys. We need more people like you out there. And I'm very grateful to have you, or at least for you to accept me in your lives. So love you all, and thank you very much.
Thank you, James. And I am likewise grateful for your family, which clearly did a great job of raising you and are good people. And, you know, that even though some of them haven't met me, they've all taken me, kind of into the extended family. And I'm grateful for that. So thank you. Thank them. Thank you, our listener, and really just have a blessed, safe, and wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy this time, and hopefully we'll see you again next week for for part 2 of our interview with the Mofo guys and for more of your usual Hit the Deck nonsense. So on behalf of myself, and I will give James the opportunity to give his own, but on behalf of myself, thank you. It sounds so cliche saying it so many times, but it really is true. Thank you for listening, and that's about it.
Exactly. Well said, Mr. Gary Mack, sir. It is called Thanksgiving for a reason, and have a very happy one. Enjoy it, and exactly hope to see you on the other side for Hit the Deck 36. So thanks, everybody.
And finally, one last sentiment. Thank you for not being that guy. See you next time, everybody.